When it comes to relationships, transparency is important, but total exposure is not. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean they have the right to every single corner of your life. Some things are better kept to yourself, not because you're hiding something wrong, but because you're protecting your peace, your dignity, and the healthy mystery that keeps respect alive. The moment you hand over every piece of yourself without discernment, you risk losing the very boundaries that make you strong. When you reveal your deepest insecurities to a man, you're handing him the most sensitive parts of your inner world, the parts that can't be unseen or unheard once they're out in the open. In the beginning, when emotions are high and trust feels unshakable, it can seem natural to spill every fear, every self-doubt, and every old wound. It might even feel like it brings you closer, but the truth is, not every person has the emotional maturity, empathy, or discipline to carry that kind of knowledge without it changing the way they see you. In a heated moment, when frustration replaces tenderness, those insecurities can be used as a weapon. Even if he's not a malicious person, he may unintentionally say something that hits directly at the soft spots you once trusted him with, and the damage from that can cut far deeper than the argument itself. Your insecurities are like locked doors in a house, and not everyone should be given the keys to every room, no matter how charming or loving they seem at first. There is also a psychological shift that happens when someone knows the full extent of what rattles you. People naturally form mental patterns about how to interact with others, and when your insecurities are fully known, even subconsciously, they can start to navigate the relationship differently. Maybe they'll tread lightly in some areas, or maybe they'll poke at those spots without even realizing it. Either way, you lose the control over how you present yourself and how you manage those vulnerable areas. You are the only person who truly knows the depth and complexity of what you've overcome, and sharing too much of it too soon can allow someone to create a narrative about you that you may not want them to have. In the early stages of dating, or even in the middle of a long-term relationship, it's important to remember that self-protection isn't secrecy, it's emotional intelligence. You can be open and authentic without dragging out every fear and flaw you've ever wrestled with. Selective vulnerability is a skill. It's about revealing parts of yourself in a way that builds connection without exposing the most fragile parts before someone has earned the right to hold them carefully. Many women feel that sharing every detail of their insecurity will bring closeness, but it often has the opposite effect. It removes the healthy mystery that keeps respect and attraction strong. Some insecurities are temporary, things you're already working through and will likely overcome. But if they're shared prematurely, they can leave a permanent impression on someone's mind. That means even when you've grown past it, they might still see you through the lens of that old version of yourself. The most powerful way to handle deep insecurities is to process them in a safe space, whether that's with trusted friends, a mentor, or privately within yourself, before deciding if they even need to be shared at all. Not every partner needs to carry the weight of every insecurity you've ever had, and not every relationship is equipped to hold that without shifting in ways you don't want. The truth is, boundaries around your vulnerabilities are a form of self-respect. They signal that you know your worth and you won't hand over the most delicate parts of yourself until you're sure they'll be handled with the care they deserve. A man may love you, be devoted to you, and even have the best intentions, but love doesn't automatically equal the right to every insecurity you hold. Your confidence, your strength, and your resilience are often built in the quiet work you do behind the scenes, and it's okay, healthy even, to keep certain battles private. When you guard your deepest insecurities, you're not being distant, you're being wise, and you're protecting the foundation of your emotional stability while allowing the relationship to grow in a way that's balanced, respectful, and rooted in mutual trust, rather than unchecked vulnerability. When it comes to financial independence, there is a certain level of privacy that should always be maintained, regardless of how much you trust or care for a man. Your finances are not just numbers in a bank account. They represent your freedom, your safety net, and your ability to make choices without feeling trapped or dependent. Disclosing every single detail about your savings, investments, income streams, or emergency funds may seem harmless in the beginning, but it can shift the power dynamic in ways you may not anticipate. Money has an undeniable influence on how people perceive each other, and when someone knows exactly what you have, it can subtly change the way they approach you, treat you, or even make decisions in the relationship. Sometimes it's conscious, sometimes it's subconscious, but once those details are out, you can't take them back. If you reveal too much, you risk exposing yourself to potential manipulation, whether intentional or not. A man who knows the full scope of your financial capacity may become overly comfortable relying on it, or he might make assumptions about what you should contribute, spend, or sacrifice. Even in relationships where both partners are loving and respectful, money can complicate dynamics when there is no clear boundary around what is shared and what remains personal. Keeping certain aspects of your financial life private doesn't mean you're being deceitful. It means you're maintaining control over your own resources, so you're never in a position where you have to compromise your independence to keep the peace. Financial independence is deeply tied to emotional independence. When you have your own means and keep those details to yourself, you protect the ability to make decisions based on what's best for you, not on what someone else thinks you can afford or should do. Many women have found themselves in situations where revealing too much about their finances led to subtle pressure, whether that's footing the bill more often, bailing someone out of their poor decisions, or feeling obligated to invest in things they wouldn't have otherwise chosen. Once someone knows exactly what you're capable of financially, they might, intentionally or unintentionally, factor your resources into their own plans, and you can end up carrying a weight that isn't yours to bear. It's also important to consider what happens if the relationship shifts, whether through conflict or separation. If you've been transparent about every account, every investment, and every dollar, you may have given someone a roadmap to the very assets that keep you secure. Privacy ensures that no matter what happens in the relationship, you maintain stability. This doesn't mean you can't share goals or collaborate on joint expenses. It means you remain discerning about what is joint and what is solely yours. A man who respects you will respect that boundary, understanding that it's about empowerment, not secrecy. Keeping certain financial details to yourself also protects the natural balance of respect in a relationship. Money, whether we like it or not, can influence attraction and authority. Sometimes revealing too much can unintentionally shift how a man sees himself in comparison to you. He may feel insecure if you have significantly more, or entitled if he perceives you as having enough to handle more responsibilities. Neither dynamic is healthy, and both can be avoided when you keep your financial reality as a private matter. The strongest relationships are built on mutual respect and contribution, not on one person's resources being fully available to the other simply because they exist. Your financial privacy is not about distrust. It's about protecting the foundation of your independence. It allows you to give freely without being expected to give constantly. It keeps you in control of your future, ensuring that no matter how much you care for someone, your security is never up for negotiation. The moment you give away full access to your financial picture, you give away part of your freedom. And once that's gone, it's incredibly difficult to reclaim. Sharing every personal conflict you've had with friends or family may feel like a way to be open and honest, but it often creates a ripple effect you can't control. When you let a man in on the unfiltered details of arguments, tensions, or private issues with the people closest to you, you're inviting him to see those individuals through a distorted lens, one shaped by moments of frustration rather than the full history of love, loyalty, and connection you share with them. Even if you later make amends and move forward with those friends or family members, he may still hold on to the version of them you painted during a low point. And that lingering perception can create tension or even resentment in the long run. What you see as a temporary disagreement might become, in his mind, a permanent flaw in someone's character. There's also the risk of unintentionally pulling him into conflicts that were never his to be part of. When you share every detail, he may feel the need to take sides or offer advice, which can complicate relationships that should remain between you and the person directly involved. You might forgive your sibling, best friend, or parent in a heartbeat, but he might not be so quick to let go, especially if he feels he's protecting you. Over time, this can build invisible walls between the people in your life and your partner, creating awkward situations at gatherings or causing him to avoid certain people altogether. By keeping certain conflicts private, you're not being secretive. You're preserving the harmony between the different parts of your world. It's also important to recognize that everyone has their moments of weakness, and those moments don't always reflect who they truly are. If you share those vulnerable or unflattering moments with someone outside the relationship, especially in the heat of the moment, you risk cementing an image of your loved ones that isn't fair or accurate. This doesn't just protect them, it protects you as well, because relationships thrive when both partners maintain healthy boundaries around what's shared and what's kept within the safe circle of trust between long-term loved ones. You wouldn't want someone sharing your worst moments as the defining image of who you are, so extending that same courtesy to others is a sign of maturity and respect. Another subtle but powerful reason to guard these details is that overexposing interpersonal drama can drain the respect your partner has for your ability to navigate relationships. If every disagreement or frustration becomes a story you share, it can signal that you don't handle personal matters privately or that you thrive on conflict. Even if that's not the truth, repeated exposure to stories of discord can shape how he views your stability and emotional intelligence. The healthiest relationships are built on the trust that not everything needs to be put on the table, and that both partners are capable of managing their own connections without turning every conflict into a shared burden. There's a big difference between seeking advice or emotional support in a tough situation and recounting every argument or criticism that's ever passed between you and your loved ones. One is about finding clarity and guidance. The other risks oversharing in ways that can't be undone. Once you've told someone that your best friend betrayed your trust or that your mother said something deeply hurtful, that person will always carry that piece of information in how they see them, even if the relationship later heals. Choosing to keep some of these conflicts to yourself is about protecting the long-term peace of your relationships, allowing each one to stand on its own without being weighed down by outside opinions or judgments that stem from moments of temporary tension. Your romantic history is a part of your life that should be handled with discretion, because once it's shared in full detail, it cannot be taken back, and the way a man sees you can shift in ways you might not expect. While honesty is an important foundation in any relationship, there is a difference between being truthful and being overly revealing about the intimate parts of your past. Every relationship you've had before him came with its own set of emotions, mistakes, lessons, and private experiences that shaped who you are, but not all of those details serve a healthy purpose in your current connection. In fact, the more graphic or detailed you get about past partners, the more likely it is that he will picture things that could stir up jealousy, insecurity, or even unnecessary comparison. Those mental images can linger and quietly erode the comfort he feels with you, even if he tries to hide it. When you share too much about your romantic history, you might think you're showing transparency or demonstrating that you have nothing to hide. But what you could be doing is giving him information that will later be used, consciously or unconsciously, to measure himself against people who are no longer part of your life. It's human nature to compare, and even if he's confident, hearing too much about what you've done, who you've been with, or how those relationships played out can plant seeds of doubt. He might begin to wonder if you still think about certain people, if you miss certain experiences, or if you're measuring him against past partners in the same way. These thoughts can lead to subtle insecurity and create tension that didn't need to exist in the first place. There is also the risk of giving someone a blueprint to your vulnerabilities in love. If you share exactly how an ex hurt you, what mistakes you made, and where your boundaries were crossed, you're revealing the very places in your heart that have been tested before. Someone with the wrong intentions could use that knowledge to avoid detection while repeating similar behaviors, or they could use it in moments of conflict to strike at the places they know will hurt most. Even if they never act maliciously, the simple fact that they know the most painful details of your past can alter the balance of emotional power in the relationship. Some stories from your past are deeply personal because they represent a different version of you, one that no longer exists. You've grown, you've evolved, and you've moved beyond certain mistakes or choices. Yet, if you bring those old stories into your current relationship, you run the risk of being permanently associated with a version of yourself you've already outgrown. It can feel frustrating when someone judges you by your past instead of your present, but that's a natural response when they've been given too much of that past to hold on to. Protecting your romantic history isn't about shame, it's about preserving the freshness and purity of your current relationship. It's about allowing your partner to know you for who you are today without the constant shadow of who you were before. He doesn't need to know every name, every heartbreak, or every intimate detail to love you fully. He just needs to know the woman you are now and the values you carry forward. Keeping those older chapters to yourself allows you to maintain a healthy sense of mystery, protect your emotional privacy, and ensure that the focus remains on the relationship you are building together instead of the ones you've already left behind. Your dreams and long-term plans are some of the most precious parts of who you are, and they should be protected with the same care you would give to any valuable possession. They represent your vision for the future, your ambitions, and the personal journey you want to take to get there. When you reveal every detail of these plans to a man before they've taken shape, you risk exposing them to outside influence, judgment, or even discouragement that can dim your motivation. Sometimes people, without meaning harm, will project their own fears, limitations, or lack of belief onto your dreams, and that can plant seeds of doubt in your own mind. If your vision is still fragile, still growing, or still taking form, it's especially important to keep it safe from any words or reactions that could undermine it before it has the strength to stand on its own. There is also a sense of power in holding on to certain dreams privately until they begin to manifest. When you keep your plans close, you allow yourself to nurture them without the weight of external expectations. If you tell someone too much too soon, you might start feeling pressure to achieve those goals on their timeline, or you may feel judged if your path changes along the way. Dreams are deeply personal and often evolve as you grow, and when they're out in the open too early, you may feel less free to adjust them because you've already announced them to someone else. The most fulfilling goals are often the ones that are pursued quietly, with intention, without constant outside commentary. In relationships, there can also be subtle power dynamics that come into play when you share your long-term plans. A man who knows your vision in full detail may consciously or unconsciously try to shape it according to his own desires, preferences, or insecurities. This doesn't always come from a place of control. It can come from wanting to feel included or relevant in your future, but it can still lead to compromises that pull you away from your original vision. By keeping certain parts of your plans private, you maintain the freedom to build the future you truly want, rather than one that has been shaped or altered to fit someone else's comfort zone. There's also the reality that not everyone will celebrate your ambitions the way you hope they will. Some people may downplay them, make you question their practicality, or suggest you aim for something smaller. Others might show initial support, but later feel threatened by your progress or independence if your goals require you to grow beyond the current dynamic of the relationship. Your dreams are a reflection of your independence, and independence can sometimes create insecurity in someone who fears losing influence or relevance in your life. Protecting your vision means ensuring it's built on your own drive, not on someone else's approval or acceptance. Keeping certain dreams and long-term plans to yourself until they begin to unfold also preserves the excitement of surprise. When you accomplish something you've been quietly working toward, the impact is far greater because it's the result of your own discipline and focus, unshaped by constant feedback or interference. It allows you to own your success fully, knowing it was driven by your commitment rather than influenced or redirected by someone else's opinions. Your dreams deserve to grow in a space where they are safe, respected, and untouched by the noise of outside perspectives, and the best way to ensure that is to keep them close until they are strong enough to stand in the light on their own.